All right, well, welcome to our Google Open training for Google Educator Group Utah, but also UEN this week. I'm very excited to have you all here. I'm very excited because we have a trainer other than me on the call today that's going to help us out with that. Kira Bettis from Jordan School District is going to walk us through some Jamboard here in a few minutes. And I'm going to be then talking to us about Google Drawings. Now, the reason why we paired these two is that Google Drawings is in level 1 and only level 1. Jamboard is in level 2 and only in level 2. And so we want to make sure we get both of those going, and thought it would make a great pairing. So as you come in, a couple things. Our Google site is in the chat, and I'm just going to repost it for those of you that came in just a few minutes later. That has all of our materials on it. I'm just going to share my screen really quick and show you a couple of those. So this has all the materials for all the courses, and as we get them posted on YouTube, we'll add those. For instance, our docs training a few weeks ago is already up there. The only one that's not on there is our slides from last week. I'm still waiting for that to get posted on YouTube, and I'm hoping that'll happen in the next 24 hours. Everything's on there and that you need to know. So for instance, if we go to our Sheets training, here are all the level 1, level 2, and then some helpful tips, and then our slide presentation for that as well. Today, like I said, we're going to be covering Jamboard, which we have the essential tasks up here for level 1, level 2, and then some helpful tips. And we'll also be covering drawings and some work with that. So as we get going, we're going to cover, first of all, level 1 and then level 2 if it connects with the overall tool that we're looking at. Like I said, drawings and Jamboard are only in certain tool sets, or in certain tests, so we'll put that out there. And then we'll cover some helpful tips, and hopefully by about 3:40, we'll kind of wrap up. And if you have questions for us about particular ideas or tools or things that we kind of glossed over, feel free to drop those in the chat throughout, and we'll answer those at the end. Or at the end, we can also have you jump on mic. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and I'm going to hand the keys to the kingdom over to Miss Bettis so that she can present here as well. You should be able to now, Kira. Let me know if you're not. And she's going to walk us through Jamboard and all the materials we need to know for that.
Okay, thank you, Matt. And yes, I can share my screen. So the reason why I'm doing this is when he sent out the schedule, I had just barely shared a presentation. Can everyone see my screen? I can't see people now. I'm assuming you can. Okay, so I had just shared a presentation on Google Jamboard, and so when he's had it on the schedule, I was like, oh, I know that. I can help share some ideas. So what we were looking at Google Jamboard for initially was as a collaboration tool. We'll be going over the basics of level 1 and level 2 for the certification exam, and then we'll kind of go over some other ideas that you can use Jamboard for, some more creative options. So just by means of a quick introduction, like Matt said, I am a digital teaching and learning specialist with Jordan District. If you have any questions, email is the best way to reach me, or Twitter, and we'll get into this. So as it says on the website, for level 1 certification, there's nothing really to do with Jamboard. But for level 2, you have to create a new jam, be able to change your pen to marker, highlighter, and brush, draw a circle in the frame, and then insert a sticky note, which is all something that we'll go over together today. Some other helpful tips with Jamboard is that you can add images to Jamboards, even GIFs, which is awesome. And this is something that we'll practice in just a second. Use the laser pointer to present, set the background to a different format, and this kind of goes back to that adding images to it. You can have up to 20 frames in one jam. So depending on your class size, not every kid can have a frame in a jam, but you can have them working collaboratively, have groups working on the same jam or a different frame within the same jam. And then only 25 users concurrently per jam. So you kind of have to decide with your class size what will work and what won't. Okay, so to get to the fun stuff with Jamboard, what are some things that you can do with it? So you can annotate, you can collaborate, you can add images and GIFs, GIFs, whatever it says. You can do interactive images a la ThingLink. You can use them for exit tickets or SEL check-ins, and you can use it as a digital whiteboard option with remote classes and so much more. So we're going to watch just 2 minutes of this YouTube clip. I'll put the slides on the website so that you can access it later and you can get the full video if you're interested in. But what I really liked in this clip is they go over lots of different ways that you can use Google Jamboard. So we'll go.
Use as a Jamboard background. For example, Canva has loads of online whiteboard templates that you can download and then upload as a Jamboard background, such as this mind mapping template or this group project brainstorming template. Although the templates on Slides Mania are designed for Google Slides or PowerPoint, they can also work well for Google Jamboard. For example, you can use this notebook template to set up digital interactive notebooks in Jamboard. And I'm actually going to talk more about that later in this video. Julia Dweck makes incredible Jamboard specific templates that you can download for free on her Linktree page. For example, you can download this Art Detectives template where students drag and drop sections of famous paintings in a puzzle game to practice fractions. Or this template where students purchase items to build dream houses for the 3 little pigs and then calculate the amount of money each house costs to build to practice math skills. Eric Kurtz has a bunch of Jamboard templates on his website as well, including these creative rainbow drawing templates where students can use the eraser tool to scratch and reveal an image below. Esther Park has built off this idea to create her own scratch and reveal Jamboard templates to reveal clues that students use to guess a word, or this Story Elements word work template where students unscramble words by dragging and dropping sticky notes and then adding an image, a definition, and an example for each word. And Matt also has downloadable templates on his website, Ditch That Textbook, such as this top 10 list template or this character notes template. You can find those at ditchthattextbook.com/Jamboard. And a reminder, all the templates that I just showed are all totally free to download.
If you want to make your own template, my favorite way to make your own background for a Jamboard is through Google Slides. Just open up a new slide presentation and design your background the way that you want it. You can add sections for students to drop sticky notes. You can add a big image for labeling or circling. You can even add a passage of text for students to annotate. Go to File, Download as, PNG image to save that slide as an image. You can then add that image as a background, just like Sam showed us.
Okay, so that was just a quick overview of lots of different options of how you can use Jamboard. And then on this slide, I've put all the links that they reference in that clip that we just showed. So once you have access to these slides, you'll have access to all of those resources. Okay, so now we're going to walk you through how to create your own Jamboard. And all of these steps are basically hits the big points in the Google Level 2 certification. So, oh no, what happened? Escape. Okay, so we are going to go to the waffle icon. And so this is in your Google account, and these are all your Google apps. And you're going to scroll down until you find the Jamboard icon. So you click on the Jamboard icon, and like all of the other Google apps, you can sort it by who they're owned by. I used it in one of my classes last year for them to create a collage for a sci-fi and fantasy class, but I'm going to narrow it down to just my Jamboards. So you're going to come over to the plus sign to add a new jam. And if you're following along, just title it Test Jam. And this is our playground. So let's look at the slides again. Aha. So we went to the waffle icon, we went to the Jamboard app, we added a new one. We're going to import an image to set as the background. So this is one of the coolest features, I think, in Jamboard, is that you can set the background, and they have some pre-made ones. So you can do dots if you want to do like math stuff. I don't know, I don't do math. But you have graph paper, you have lines, you also have like a simple blue background, but you have this little image thing, and you can upload an image to set as the background. And I don't know if I have an image that is best for that. Let's just do this one. Why not? Might be too large, actually. Okay, so this is one of my graphic drafts that I didn't post, but it's set as the background now. So I can actually draw on using the pen feature. So there's the pen, there's the marker, here's the highlighter, and here's the brush. So depending on what look you're going for, you can change the color, and you can also change the look of the writing utensil. So that was the brush. Here's what the pen looks like. You can draw on the Jamboard, marker, and highlighter. You can highlight different parts of the text. So you could do this really, really interesting stuff with like a map and have them like a highlight or circle where this capital city is, or you can have them recreate like a journey that the character in a book has gone on, or you could have them annotate a passage. So if you insert in the background text, you can have them annotate the text. Okay, we're going to clear frame to erase all of that, and we're going to set our background to the lines. Okay, so looking at our to-do list again, we want to draw a circle in the frame. So I'm not going to use the pen because I don't think drawing a circle, yeah, that's okay. But you can go down here to the different shapes, and if you click and hold on it, you can see the different shapes that you can draw within Jamboard. So there's circle, square, triangle, all so on and so forth. So we're going to draw on circle, and we just click and drag to create a circle. So you can create multiple circles. You can also reorganize the order. So you can send backwards. You can have them overlap if you would like. There's a lot of cool things you can do with the shapes. Okay. We're going to insert a sticky note now. So just come over here to a sticky note. You can change the color of the sticky note, and then you can type whatever you'd like. And depending on how much text you put in, it automatically formats it into larger or smaller. You can also make the sticky note larger or smaller, and you can edit the text, you can duplicate it, or you can delete it. But like, especially if you're working on something collaboratively, and if you have multiple people working on the same jam, you can each have like a different color sticky note and write reminders to yourself, and then delete it when you are done with the sticky note. Okay. Annotate with a pencil. This goes back to the drawing tool and picking what you want to write with so you can annotate with it. The laser feature is nice when you are presenting because you can make reference to something without it being a permanent mark. So if you were using it as like a virtual whiteboard during like a Zoom session or a Google Meet session, you can use the laser to get your students' attention. And I think that's all the things in the to-do list. Within Jamboard, you can also add an image, and this is what I've had my kids do before in creating collages, because it's nicer in Google Jamboard rather than like in Google Docs, because Google Docs, you have weird formatting things with images, and unless you're really clever, it's hard to like put the images where you want it to be. So if I were to show you, cancel. If I were to show you the other jams that I had my kids do, you can see how they were able to import lots of different images. I had them create a fantasy map. So they were able to like layer images or put multiple images together in a collage type format. Whereas like on Google Docs, the formatting would have been a little different. Okay, so now that you've kind of got a quick overview of Google Jamboard and its functionality, you can put in the chat or you can share however you would like. What are some ideas of how you think teachers could use Jamboard for collaboration or just in any classroom setting? There's a lot of possibilities, which make it kind of exciting. Okay, and that's everything that I got. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And I'll put the slides in the chat.
Awesome, Karen. If you could send those to me via email so I can put them on the website, that would be fantastic. I love the ideas, and I think Jamboard's one of those tools that's just incredible. It's got some depth to it, even though it looks like it's a simple tool on a surface. I just wanted to show this really quickly. This was a project of a friend of mine, Dan Ryder from Maine. He showed this off at ISTE, and it's just a single page where he pre-populated all these kind of old-timey pictures of people and some, just some headshots of people and some locations, some speech bubbles, and then he put the instructions in the text boxes, and it was just to make a quick comic book. And in his case, it was something he wanted us to make a comic book about how to globally collaborate with people. And then everyone made a copy of that same page and started building their own. So that was a smaller group, but with a small class or with multiple classes or multiple boards, you could really do some cool collaboration going forward. So amazing stuff. Thank you so much for showing us all of that, Kira. I really appreciate that. And that does cover everything you need to know for level 2. Again, level 1 has nothing in Jamboard, which is kind of crazy, but it's understandable because it's a newer tool. I just wanted to point out too that I love Jamboard because it looks like its name. It looks like a pair of headphones, so you're jamming out, ready to go, which is great. So the next thing we're going to cover, folks, is Google Drawings, which is only in level 1, but it is a powerful tool that you can do so many different things with, that it's one of those things that if you have in your back pocket to throw out for a project, it can be really fantastic. So what we're going to do, here's GC1 right here, and then the tips. What we're going to talk about really quickly with Google Drawings is first how to create a chart of activities. Basically, we're going to make a hierarchy chart. They're going to add text boxes and again, make a hierarchy chart. We're also going to talk about a few of my favorite little tips here in just a second as well. So in order to do all of that, we're going to have to actually go. So Kira was exactly right. To find most Google apps, you go to your little waffle up here, and then you start searching and find the app that's connected to it. However, Google Drawings isn't in there. We have to actually go and grab Google Drawings from our Drive, or you can do it from a few other locations, which we'll show you in a little bit. But the most common is from your Drive. And what you do is you go to New, More, and then there it is right there. So if you're following along, I'll give you a second to find that, and I'll just go ahead and go through that again. Go to your Drive, click New, More, and then Drawings. And if you've never explored the More tab on your Google Drive, oh, do yourself a favor and dive into that More tab. My Maps is incredible. That's where Google Sites lives. That's where Jamboard's at. And then if you have extra tools that are added by your LEA, your district, or your school, they're going to show up there. Like, for instance, I got Lucid Chart and Lucid Press and Move EDU and Nearpod plugged in there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Google Drawings, and you're going to notice that right away, it looks fairly familiar. This looks a lot like Google Slides. So, and it kind of operates in very similar ways, except that when we actually use it for drawing, which is kind of cool. So the first thing they wanted you to be able to do was make a hierarchy chart. So we're going to go back to, sorry, not to that one. So they wanted to create a chart of activities. So to do that, we can just grab a text box right here and go ahead and just start typing. So I'm going to do a hierarchy chart of characters that I think are the best in Star Wars. So my favorite character is obviously Chewbacca. I mean, you gotta love Chewbacca. And with it, when I type something in, I can go ahead and center it. I can change the text if I want to, the font, and I can add color and those sorts of things. If I add color, it actually creates an interesting space where I can fill it and then add some blue to it. But I can do some more with it with a fill over here as well. So that kind of creates a nice little block for me. Then I can duplicate that, Control C and Control V, and I can put that down below and say, okay, I like Han next. And then from there, I like Luke the best. And maybe I like those two characters exactly the same amount too. I can actually put them side by side here, just like I would on Google Slides, just like that. On top of that, I can also draw arrows to create relationships between them. So I can start showing character relationships or idea relationships. So this might work really well for instance, English class. We could do character charts of here's this character and their relationship to this person or this event. You could do this in science with relationships between molecules and different parts of electrons, neutrons, and protons, whatever works best for you. But a couple tips, that's basically everything Google wants you to know, by the way, is to be able to draw a text box, have that hierarchy chart, and then be able to draw some relationships between them. So pretty straightforward, but there are some cool things that you can do with that on top of that. So the first thing that I want to talk about is being able to download your image in a variety of formats. So this is where the power of Google Drawings comes in over Google Slides for doing artwork. So like, for instance, if I go up here to File and I go down to Download, it has very specific formats for those downloads that are very different than what we would see in Slides or across Google. So the first one is an ODP, we got PDF, we got JPEG, and we got PNG. But my favorite is SVG. And if you've never played with SVG, this is kind of an advanced thing, but it actually is a format that you can use for 3D printing to 3D print objects based on that graphic. It's kind of cool. And so you can do that directly here in Google Drawings, as well as do some CAD design with it, which is cool as well, some 3D CAD design. So that's number one, is that as opposed to a lot of other Google formats, you have a lot of freedom with your downloads and what type of download you're going to do within Google Drawings. The second thing they ask you to notice is, or that's kind of a helpful tip, is down here in page setup. So when we work with our design here, we have a canvas that is pretty standard. And every time I get into Google Earth or Google Drawings, it is always this same size. But sometimes maybe I want something a little bit different, something bigger, something wider, those sorts of things. And just like in Google Slides or on Google Docs, we can change the size of our canvas. So if we go down to File, Page Setup, we can change out what those are. So we have a standard 4:3, we have a 16:9, we have a 16:10, or we have a custom. And then we can grab the size that we want. So let's say that I want to make a poster that would fit on a normal sheet of paper. So I can go ahead and do 8.5 by 11 inches. And now my sheet is that size. And I know that if I ever print this out as an actual poster, it's ready to go. So that's a helpful thing, but it's a small thing that helps out a lot of teachers as well. The second thing I want to talk about is that Kira pointed to this in Jamboard, and I totally agree with her. Drawing a circle freehand is terrifying. And I very much am bad at drawing them as well. And a lot of people have a hard time with art and being creative and drawing things, especially in Google Drawings. And so what Google recognized that, and they added a couple features that will help you out with that. So number one is if we go to View, we can zoom, we can do rulers, we can snap to, we can do full screen. But they added this thing called guides. And so we can go ahead and show guides, and it gives us a center point for our artwork. So if we want to have something perfectly centered in our drawing, we can do that, and Google will show us exactly where that point is. We can also move those guides. So if we want to make sure that we get exactly 2 inches in or 2.5 inches, we can pinpoint that exact location and make sure that it's good to go there as well. So really helpful for the guides. We can do different types of guides as well, vertical, horizontal. We can edit, or then we can clear the guides if we don't need them anymore. Probably my favorite thing, though, that I think a lot of teachers would benefit from within Google Drawings, though, is a little button that is called Word Art. So if we go to Insert, we can do our images just like we've done before in a lot of different formats. We can add text boxes. We can add shapes as well, which is really cool. Tables, charts, diagrams, but then we get Word Art. So let's go ahead and add a new one. I'm going to go GEGUtah and click Enter. And notice it just grabs that, but now I can start playing with the color, and I can play with the border, and I can start playing with the font a little bit. And I can also go over here, just like we did last week with slides, and I can click my format options and start playing with size, rotation, position. I can add a drop shadow. I can add a reflection, and all of a sudden my word art takes on a whole new life of itself. That makes it a little bit more beautiful, a little bit more elegant, something that I can build off of. And so a lot of teachers and students have used this in the past that I've seen to build really cool, quick designs for prototyping for projects in their class. So like, for instance, maybe you have a student in a CTE course who is really interested in logo design and wants to build a business up. Well, this can be their quick prototyping tool to build something off of that with word art and with Google Drawings to then build up their portfolio and then create something for their business. And so it's a lot of really simple tools, but it does give us that prototyping tool to work off of that's really helpful. All right, a couple other things. So we do have all the formatting tools as well, just like we did in Google Slides. So make sure you check those out with borders and lines. We have fill color, we have tables and formats, just lots of really simple, great tools to grab onto. Now, I mentioned earlier that Google Drawings you can get to in a couple different places. So let's go ahead and check those out. We're going to go back to my drive really quickly, hit new, and I'm going to go to Docs. And if I go to Google Docs and click Insert, I can go ahead and start doing a drawing. I can go ahead and do from Drive. So I can go and grab the one that I just made, which is right there, insert it into my art, or into my document. There it is. Or I can go ahead and click Drawing and New, and I can start building a brand new drawing. Notice that it's kind of truncated actions here, but I can still start drawing there and do charts and graphs and organizational patterns and all sorts of materials within my drawing, and it's good to go. What's great is I'm just going to add a really quick design here, just some fonts. There we go, save and close. And then it just drops right into my whole, or into my doc as a movable picture. So kind of cool there. Now, what's nice too, I don't know if you noticed this, I'm going to delete this one again. I'm going to go ahead and hit Insert and Drawing and from Drive again. And if I grab that drawing that I just made and click Select, notice that it allows me to link to my source or insert unlinked. So if we're talking about a group project and one student is creating the art and one student is developing something else, this is a way to really show who is doing which work and have those links inserted so that it gives that digital citizenship component back to our students and allows them to say who's doing which work in our project, which I think is just stupendous. All right, we're going to go one more place. So if we go over to Slides, notice that we do have all those same tools in Slides, including word art. So I just wanted to show that really quickly. It's really interesting to have these here as well. But remember, we don't have the same downloading factors that we do in Google Drawings and the ability to drop that into a doc like we did right here. So those comparison points are really helpful to see and work with. All right, and that covers everything in Google Drawings that we is on level 1 and some of the helpful hints. I did want to point out on our website really quickly here. So if you go to, again, our training website that I'll put the link in for in the chat, or you might be able to find it really quickly. We got all the stuff that we just covered there that you might need to know, but then underneath it are some quick ideas for your class. So the first one is some logo prototyping. You can take a design that you've previously made or design something off of a larger design in your school. So like maybe you take the logo for your school mascot, or in this case, I took UEN's logo and remake it. And then we can redesign the colors, add some different backgrounds and see what students come up with. That might work for any class. I was playing around with the idea of doing new cover art for different books, which would be incredible as well. The second thing is using color. All Google Suite allows you to grab any color to plug into any document, but I think there's some really cool things if you play around with color and have students play around with color. So on here, I've linked a website that's called color.adobe.com. It's one of my favorite sites, and unfortunately, you're probably going to lose a little bit of time playing around on this site. That's okay. But if we go ahead and move any of these around, it gives us a new color. And we can go ahead and grab this little hex code down here at the bottom. The hex code is the numbers and letters string that gives us the exact code for that color on the internet. And I can grab that lime green there and go back to, like, for instance, Google Drawings, click on my art right here, click custom, and then go ahead and drop that color right there. And now it changes my whole design, which is really great for matching things together and making sure that they work together. Along with that, I just want to show this as well. If you want to extract a theme of colors, you can go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to find, there we go. UEN logo, that gives you the exact colors that are in that piece of artwork that you can plug in to your drawings, your designs, your slides, your docs, whatever you want. So it gives you a lot of options that way as well. The other thing that we have here as well is adding Google Drawings to other tools, which we've kind of talked about. So you got docs and sheets that you can plug these into and have that commonality of formatting. And then also you can do an image citation. So one thing that a lot of students struggle with in research classes across the board, but particularly in high school, is citing images. And so Google Drawing makes that really simple. They can insert the image, like for instance, Starry, Starry Night right here. And then they can go ahead and add the citation below it to then plug that into their assignment and make it very clear where they got their material from. Again, teaching them digital literacy, digital citizenship, and making it very clear from them. All right, we had one last thing that I want to cover, which was a great comment from Pam. I wanted to show you guys at the very beginning how to do this by hand so you can see hierarchy. But remember, you can also do insert, chart, or insert diagram, sorry. And then you can also grab a bunch of really cool pre-made ones. And I think it's great to know how to do it by hand, but then also there are some beautiful looking ones that you can then insert into your design work as well and really make it pop and interesting and engaging. So thanks, Pam, for that tip. I really appreciate it. All right, that is everything you need to know for Jamboard and Google Drawings for level 1 and level 2. So a couple things before we end out and we go to Q&A if you have any questions. Remember, everything that we're covering for, at this point, we only have about 3-4 more weeks of training for level 1, level 2. You can go ahead and drop or grab everything on this site. So bit.ly/all caps UEN fall Google. And that'll give you all the materials from all of our sessions. It's constantly updating. I'll add curious slides today as well, so you can get those for the future and grab a lot of really good material there. If you're interested where we're pulling all of our material from for these presentations, click on this link that says Google Certified Educator Level 1, Level 2 slides. These are the official slides from Google that walk you through all the products and the different materials that you need to know. So here's Google Drive, and walk you through the steps and the materials, and actually has links to training materials as well. So if you're interested in stuff that maybe you want to go through it yourself, or maybe you want to hand these off to another teacher, feel free to do so. We're going to be covering next week my favorite set of tools. Not joking, I love working with these. These are the things that really let me nerd out. We're going to be talking about Google Maps and Google Earth, which is a fantastic pair of tools and does a lot of really cool things for teachers. We'll be looking at how to do a couple different lesson plans with them as well at the end for helpful hints. But know that these are two really powerful tools, not just for social studies classroom, but for math and science and English, even CTE. There's tons of application for Maps and Earth.